Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the White Coat Club. My name is Nicole, and I have Amanda and Ryan here today. Today, we're going to be talking with our colleague Ryan, who is also a PLME student at Brown University. We're going to be chatting with him about his journey to Brown and his experience at Brown so far in the PLME. So, don't forget to like and subscribe in order to hear more BSMD and med school advice as the weeks continue. All right. So thank you so much, Ryan, for joining us today. We're happy to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Always love to get other counselors' aspects when talking about different topics on the podcast, and then also ones who are in medical school or on their journey to medical school as well. Um, so I guess, Brown PLME, one of the biggest programs that we have students applying to, one of the most sought after. Um, so we thought it'd be great since you're a student there. So I guess if you want to start out just telling us kind of what your experience is at Brown so far, tell everybody what year you are and all those good things.
Yeah, so I'm a rising junior at Brown, and I'm studying English and biology. And that's actually one of the my favorite parts about my experience at Brown is how diverse the topics that we get to study are. Um, I feel like that's something really unique about Brown and something they really pride their students in, is having a lot of different interests and finding like the commonalities and differences in each and how studying one subject can really complement the study of another subject. For me, I've always loved the life sciences, like biology. It was always my favorite class in high school. I just love learning about the intricacies of human life and also plants and animals. It just really fascinated me. But when it got to high school, I also discovered my love for English. I've always loved reading, but high school is when I really discovered how fun writing can be as well, and the creative side of brainstorming topics to write, the just drafting the first essay and then seeing like the progress of editing it and seeing the final product. I just love the art of doing that over and over again. And I think that English and biology have really helped me, like they've each helped me study each other better because biology, does have a lot of reading comprehension, so I feel like writing has helped me uh, better understand different topics that I might not have understood if I hadn't studied English as well. And also, I love writing about biology in my English classes, so those topics really fit together as well. And other things I love about Brown are just the students. I think Brown is one of the most supportive and collaborative schools. It's definitely different from high school, like just like any college, but I think Brown, all the students are so open to collaborating with each other, helping each other on projects. I study with my friends all the time, and we give each other study tips and advice and share Quizlets. And overall, it's just a really positive and constructive community. And yeah, that's what I love about my experience at Brown so far, but I'm sure I'll find so much more in the next 2 years.
Yeah, for sure. Something we always tell our students is like, you don't always have to do biology. It's okay. Like, please be open to the flexibility that Brown does have. And of course, doing your research over what you may want to major in along with the PLME program, which prompts to the question. Tell us about the application process to Brown and the PLME program specifically. What was your approach? What did you do? Happy to hear it all.
Yeah. The application process to Brown and the PLME, um, I actually applied early decision to Brown. So that was my first big decision I had to make. When I was researching schools, I really focused on what I wanted in a school, and I knew I wanted a really collaborative and positive community, and also the ability to um, like discover my own academic interests throughout college, and be able to change that, be able to combine different interests together and not just be stuck in one lane for 4 years. And that's something that Brown has really given me. So and I felt like that Brown was like one of the only schools that would be able to give me that. So I decided to apply early decision. Um, but I think early decision isn't for everyone, especially for um, people who want to apply to multiple programs or feel like they would be locked into one program. But I was just really passionate about Brown. So that was my personal decision. Um, and my application process, I first started when the essays came out. I just briefly looked at them and started just like marinating the ideas in my mind. I think my best ideas don't come from when I'm like sitting down and trying to think of all the possible topics. I think um, I come with my best ideas when I'm outside or just doing something random and suddenly an idea pops in my head. But just having them sit in my mind for a while, and usually they will come to me. Um, and one thing I found helpful was actually looking through my camera roll when brainstorming, because there are so many moments that you forget when you're like at the end of your high school career. And my camera roll really like refreshed my memory about all the things I did, both like personal, academic, extracurricular. It really like sparked my memory on a bunch of moments, and it gave me inspiration to write for topics for a lot of the supplementals. Um, yeah, so and then after brainstorming like the supplementals, I drafted them, and there were some where I I thought it was like the best essay, and then 2 weeks later I realized I read it back over and then I hated it. So I like re-brainstormed, and then it's kind of like a cycle of writing the essay, letting it sit for a little bit, and then coming back like a week later and seeing how it sits with you then. And I think if you like a week later, it's like a pretty good essay to go off of and to edit, continue with that. And besides the essays, there was also a video component, which I think we're going to touch on later, but that was also a
Okay.
major portion of the application because since there's no interview, that's kind of their only FaceTime they get with you to see actual moments from your life outside of your essays and get to know your personality as a person. Um,
I love
and
what you said about like going through your camera roll. And I also a lot of times will reference like, oh, journal and go back to there, but your camera roll is such a great it almost is like a video journal, video diary. Um, but I also really loved what you said about the it's kind of twofold, looking at the questions. Don't just say I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna write this. That's not always the best approach. You're not always gonna have the best answer or the best idea. If you look at the prompts, kind of let it sit in the back of your brain while you're doing other things, while you're just living your life, and those prompts are kind of sitting in the back of your head, that's when these ideas will usually come to the surface. And then I think a lot of my students currently right now are, I want to get it done, I want to get done, I want to get done. Is it finalized? Can we be done? And then I've said similar things like, I think we're done, but let's let it sit. Let's not touch it for a week, because you can look at it every day for a week and you can make changes every single day. You're going to keep nitpicking it, keep changing one word, change it back, you know, so call it done, wait, take a pause, don't look at it for at least a week, and then go back. And like that fresh set of eyes, like I think definitely makes all the difference.
yeah, I totally agree. When I like look at I sometimes like a week later completely forget what I even wrote about. So that's actually really helpful because it's like I'm my own essay editor because I can see it from like a stranger's point of view kind of and critique it objectively because I feel like sometimes because our essays are so personal, um we have like a filter when we read it and it's hard to judge it from an objective perspective. So I think that's a really good tip.
Yeah, I love that. And it does seem like you've been referencing the open curriculum a lot in, when you're first chatting about what you're studying and um the ability to explore versus being locked in. I know that's something that they pride themselves on, something that they ask about. Um, So it's good to hear that the open curriculum is really something that is standing out to you still.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, So as I kind of said, we have a lot of students that apply or want to apply. Any advice that you would give potential students who are thinking about applying?
Yeah, um, advice definitely. Do your research on Brown and PLME. Their website is super comprehensive. They have like a tab for everything. Um, just explore like the website, the academic side of it, the extracurricular side of it, the student life part of it. I think they do a really good job of kind of putting you in the from the perspective of a student and seeing um, what it's like to be a college student at Brown. And it will definitely help you write your essays. Um, a lot of the supplementals are focused on why Brown, why open curriculum, what will you contribute to our community, and it's helpful to know like a comprehensive overview of Brown before you write them so you can kind of match your interests and what you think you could contribute to the community with what you researched before. And second piece of advice would be start the essays early because it seems a lot of the essays are on the shorter side, like 250 words. I think there's a couple that are 500. So it's easy to put them off and think that you have time, but there's so many components to the essay writing process. You might, like I said before, like write it and then discover you don't like it 2 weeks later. And it kind of takes a while to let the essay sit there for a little bit and look back, and and that's something you just can't do if you start writing them like a week before the deadline. You need to let yourself have time to uh, write them and look back on them, and just don't rush the process. And another piece of advice would be just like making sure that it's also about the essays, making sure that all of your essays have like a consistent theme throughout them. And it doesn't have to be all about like one activity that you did or something like that. Just make sure all the essays have like a through line that of something that's unique to you as a person. Um, and I think that will really help you stand out because then the admissions officer will be able to recognize you as a person and remember that. Because if your essays are all scattered and talking about talking about like showing um, all the different sides of you, it's kind of hard to turn that, it's kind of hard to put that together and make that memorable as a student. So having like a consistent theme of maybe you're into advocacy, it can be something really general. Um, Having that as a through line will be really helpful in standing out.
I think that makes sense. I think we talk about that a lot, or I usually use that. We talk about the three words prompt. So when students are approaching the three words prompt, where it's just three words that describe you, I very much kind of use that mindset where what you were saying is you want it to be comprehensive and um I don't want the words that they're choosing to be words that don't reflect the rest of the pieces that they've written about, with what brings you joy and how are you going to bring to the community and even like the PLME, why you're into medicine, all of those. I think it's important to have that um
Mhm.
unison, I guess. Like you said, like the through line of the same common theme. So would you say that that would be a good approach? And I'm kind of interested to hear your thought on that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good approach of finding something unique about you and making that kind of the the thing that stands out about all of your essays. The 3 words essay, I actually don't think that was there when I applied, but I think I did that for some other schools.
Yeah.
And my advice for that one would be choose words that like complement the rest of your application so that um when they
Yes.
read that they'll be reminded of the rest of the things you did and the rest of the essays that you wrote about. And also don't choose like cliche words like hardworking or passionate or dedicated or something like that. Choose specific words that you feel like are personal to you. And yeah, like use a thesaurus if you need to, but just like as specific words that you feel like would describe you as possible.
Yeah, for sure. I know that that is one component of it that has students usually taking longer than maybe some 250 words. But curious to know, so you brought up something really interesting about your essays being like consistent and having a theme and just making sure that admissions officers see you as a person. Curious to know with these supplemental essays, do you have anything that stands out in terms of do's and don'ts? Anything that you're like, yes, absolutely mention this or share this versus no, do not talk about this. Any thoughts there?
Yeah. So Brown has a lot of different supplemental essays. I think one of the most important ones is the first one, which is the open curriculum essay, because that's something that's so uniquely Brown, and you have to really understand that to apply. Um, Do's for that essay, definitely show your curiosity as a student. Show where, like, the breadth of your academic curiosities, where they started, and where they might lead in the future. And really be specific in this essay. I think this is definitely the place where you want to mention specific classes that you want to take. If you like search online Brown University courses, you can find a complete list and you can filter by department based on your interests and find really interesting classes that you might want to take and tie the essay back to the open curriculum. Emphasize how you want your academic journey to go and how Brown's flexibility will help support your academic goals and your career goals in the future. For don'ts for this essay, I wouldn't just list courses without mentioning why they are important or matter to you. You should always connect the specific courses back to your personal interests and how it started and tie it back to your future as well of how that class will help you. Um, and I think another one that stood out to me was the joy essay because it was a really broad topic compared to like the open curriculum one, which is really specific. For that one, definitely do be very detailed and specific as well. Pick something that is unique to you and a lot of other people might not um that's not just like a common hobby or something. And if it is, make it um like nobody else does the same hobby the same. So write about the part of it that's unique to you and include a lot of like emotional descriptions as well. A lot of this is getting to know you as a person. So and the hobby and the joy is kind of a vessel to do that. So this is also definitely a place to show your personality and let your passions shine in this essay. And don't just pick like a activity or something to just because it's impressive. I don't think this is an essay to showcase like an extracurricular or something that you want to show off that you can't show off anywhere else. I think this is definitely very personal and um, something that you don't want to repeat in other aspects that won't show up in any other aspect of the application. It's just an essay about you and what brings you joy, not something to show off like an activity or something like that. And for the PLME essays, the first one is just the generic why medicine essay, but it's at the end you also want to have a chance to write about why specifically PLME. And for that essay, this is just general like why medicine essay advice, but show like a well-informed your motivation for why you want to pursue medicine. Reflect on like your real experiences with medicine, whether it's family or working in a hospital, like through shadowing or clinical work. And for the PLME portion, I would explain why specifically this program's unique path fits you as a person. I think this is a really unique program because it emphasizes like a comprehensive education along with medicine. It's not just focused on one specific aspect. They really want you to explore all of your interests in undergrad so that once you get to medical school, you can take like the disciplines that you learned and bring it to medicine. And having that diverse thought and academic interests really helps you become a better doctor. And for don'ts for this essay, definitely be more specific than just I want to help people or I like science. And also don't overly focus on the science aspect of it and ignore like your other academic interests. Make sure to let those shine as well in the essay.
Perfect. Yeah, that is all so good to know, especially given Brown has many essays, and we so appreciate your insights on all of these. So there is a video option, which for us is not an option for Brown. So for anyone listening who has no idea that Brown had a video portion of the application, could you maybe tell us what it is, how you did it, and your approach to it?
Yeah. So my the video portfolio is a chance to show the isn't like another chance apart from the essays to show the admissions officer you who you are as a person and your personality. It's like the only time they get to see you actually talk and um, have like direct interaction with you like through a screen because they don't have an interview. Um, and I was kind of intimidated by the video portfolio when I first was applying because I had no like experience with like videography before, very little experience with video editing, and I felt like that would be a limiting factor. But I encourage like all students to not think about it that way because all the all the video editing like software out there is really like easy to use, and the part they should really focus on is um, what they're putting in the video. So my advice and kind of my process was like like I said in the essay portion, going through my camera roll and um, like going all the way back down to your first photo or video. And if you have like childhood photos on like a USB somewhere, that would also be really helpful because going through like your entire timeline, um, I think you can notice like or remember some pivotal parts of your life and lessons that you learned along the way or like activities that you did as a kid that you forgot about. I really started there. I started in my childhood and then worked my way up to the person I was at the end of high school and showing how like my interests changed and how um how my interests changed, how my personality evolved, how I became the person I was at the end of high school. And gathering like photos and videos is the hardest part because you kind of have to think about it from the person who's watching it's point of view of what story do I want to tell? What parts of me do I want to showcase to them? Because it's only a 2-minute video, so you can't fit your entire life um, in that. And I think the first after you like collect all the photos and videos, I started working on like just a rough script for the video. I did like a I what I did was collage all the photos and videos together in the order that I wanted and then do a voiceover, which I think is what most people do. Um, so I just made a rough script of matching what I wanted to talk about for each photo and video. Um, and doing a voiceover of who I was at that time, what changed, what were like some pivotal moments that happened and that I learned from and molded me into the person I am today. And then after I did that, I voiceovered it and then started like editing the editing like the photos and videos on
Mhm.
iMovie, and kind of just like adding like decoration to it. But overall, it took me about a good week to finish it of just like intensive working on the video. So it definitely is time consuming. And if you know that Brown is one of your top schools, I would definitely prioritize this as well. I think it's a really important part of your application.
Awesome. That's super helpful. The video, I think, is struggling for students, especially after they've written so many supplements for Brown, and
Mm.
what is their approach there, and what should this even say or include. So that is super, super helpful. We definitely appreciate that insight from someone who's done it. So looking back, writing about all of the why are you excited about Brown and the PLME and um, the why Brown, why PLME specifically, looking back now, the features that you wrote about, are those still features that stand out to you, or are there new kind of features that stand out to you about the program now that you didn't necessarily know about, or now being in it are really impactful to you?
Yeah.
Either about this the PLME or Brown in general.
Mm. I think a lot of what I imagined Brown to be came true when I was a student. Definitely about the student body and how happy they are, how collaborative they are. Um, and in terms of resources that I didn't know about, like when I was applying, but as a student, I got to see and was happily surprised by. I didn't know that we had so many like different academic support services when I was applying. At Brown, we have like a writing center where you can take any essay that you want uh, into like a office hour type class, and then there's students who can help you craft the essay, um, give you feedback, and I felt that was really helpful. And it's not just writing, there's that type of setup um, for a lot of different disciplines. And for the program, one thing that I really was wasn't expecting was how involved the how like involved the program is with your just school life in general. I thought, or when I went there, I I was so like happily surprised by how nice the deans were and our advisors were. They're like some of the best people at the school. They're so supportive. It's just really safe knowing that as soon as you step on campus, um, there's people who have your back already, and they're not just there for academic support. They're really helpful in um, just like having a conversation with and seeing and helping you develop your interest as a student. Um, yeah, I think the common denominator is just the people at Brown are so amazing, and I already knew that going in, but actually getting to experience that was really life-changing.
That's awesome. I love what you said about everything you expected Brown to be kind of met that expectation and came
Mhm.
true. So that's
Yeah,
awesome. I'm so glad you're having an amazing experience there.
thank you.
Amanda, did you have anything else to ask or add?
No, I feel like I personally also learned so much as a counselor. This has been super helpful in just hearing your insights. I know the application for Brown can be a little intimidating, but it was so great hearing someone who is literally in the program share your perspective. Yeah, just thank you so much for sharing your perspective, Ryan.
Yeah, of course. Happy to help.
Yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate it. So I guess that's all we have for today. Um, but like I said, don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more about our essay mini series that is going to continue through the fall, and then some other, great things as the cycle continues.